be a hard thing to hear. It doesn't necessarily feel fair to everybody to hear that, but I'm telling you it's true. And I know it's true because, well, first of all, the stats are there. If we look at murders in our country, violence in general is a male problem. 88% of the murders committed in our country are by men. 90% of the robberies, men. If you look at the most studied thing there is, officers who get murdered, 97% of the time the perpetrator is a male. So that's just true. I know from my personal experience, there have been men I've helped who were terrified, oppressed, and at risk. But that was rare enough that I remember them. Whereas the 6 years I was in our homicide unit, the number of crime scenes I've been to where women were murdered by an intimate partner, by a man, they've started to blend together. So that is the truth. But this terrible truth doesn't mean that I'm saying men are bad, right? Most men are wonderful people. We, are not victims of testosterone poisoning. We're good people who take care of our families and take care of the people that we should. But we are the ones who have to step up and end this. Criminal justice system holds people accountable for violence, sure. But real life, peers, your community is what affects behavior. So that's why as men, we have to step up and make it clear that this has to end. And the good thing is that we're doing that. We've already made real progress. Our society has changed, and the level of victimization that happens in our homes has dropped. It really has. Since I became an officer 25 years ago, it's been cut. So what we're doing is working. Just got to do a little more. Okay, so here's what I think men can do. First thing is, we got to help people stay focused on who can end intimate partner violence, family violence. Okay, when we pay attention to the needs of victims, and we should, they deserve to be supported and protected. We can lose sight that protecting victims makes no progress to ending violence in the home. It merely limits the harm. To end violence in the home, well, there's someone else that you got to pay attention to. So if you'll indulge me just for a second, I'll a little exercise I do in the academy. Tell the recruits, all right, so here's the deal. Next year in this country, there'll be 10 million assaults in our homes on victims. That breaks down to, 25,000 a day. That breaks down to 20 in the next minute, okay, every 3 or 4 seconds, which is horrendous to think about, right? That usually gets the recruits' attention. And now tell them to imagine that every one of those 10 million victims that would be victimized next year was magically transported to a safe place, somewhere else. So in the next minute, 20 women would not be assaulted because they're gone. They're somewhere else safe. Okay, and the next day, 25,000 won't be assaulted. But does anybody think in the next year or 5 years now that family violence will still be done? It'd be gone? No. Because the men who choose to use violence will have connected with new people, new partners, and new victims. So the solution is not to fix victims. It can never be that. The solution is holding men accountable who choose to be violent to make it in their best interest to stop. That's the only answer that we have. Forgive me for that. So what can we do? All right, here's what we can do. We can model how to be a man who doesn't take advantage of any of his power, disparity in strength, or any of those things. We are fortunate, men my age and younger, that we can have the full gamut of emotions. We can model that. We can speak up, okay? We can communicate this isn't acceptable. In the locker room humor, nah, that's not funny. Somebody does something and say, would you want your daughter treated that way? Well, everybody's somebody's daughter. So you can speak up and say, no, I don't think so. And we have to do that because you would think just living your life the way you should would speak for ourselves. But the men who do use violence, they don't want to think of themselves as terrible people, so they tell themselves lies that make it easier to live with what they've done. She made me mad, it's her fault. Everybody does this. So being silent, even though you live your life with care and love, doesn't communicate that to them. You have to affirmatively tell them, this isn't okay. This isn't okay. So, the last thing you can do is what you're already doing. Again, you're here supporting Women's Resource Center. You've already made that commitment to help this organization do the work they do. But what I would ask you, whatever you plan on giving today, give more. Because they're amazing. This little group, 12 full-time employees, 10 part-time, 700,000 people in DeKalb County. This little group, their footprint is everywhere. They have changed DeKalb County. They've changed the world. Okay, yeah, of course they have a safe house that's amazing that other shelters pattern themselves on to make women feel safe and value children to heal. And they should be doing that, right? They have advocates who make the rest of the criminal justice system work better. They have Kim Frendak teaching out in the community. 1,700 people have been trained over the last 20 years. Not an hour class, 6 weeks of classes. Who gets that kind of commitment? Women's Resource Center does. Okay? But it's not just that they do what they ought to do well. They dream big and they go big. Okay? Every advocate knows that visitation is dangerous for a woman who's left a batterer. So they say, exchange the kids in a public place. That's not their answer. Their answer is build a visitation center where it's absolutely safe for the women, for the kids, and where the men are supported so the kids get to see their dad behaving like a dad should. Now that's a solution that this little group of 20 people did. Everyone knows that kids who've seen trauma should have the benefit of counseling. Okay, and everybody tries to do that. Their solution, a full summer camp, hundreds of hours of engagement and involvement with kids who've been through trauma. Partner with Emory and the best research going to try and help these kids heal. That's an organization that deserves your support, because I promise you, under Gene's leadership with those amazing people, they will wring more value out of your dollar than you ever could. So, thank y'all so much for being here. Thank you for honoring me, but mostly thank y'all for doing everything you can to support their work to end family violence.